exciting to chew. Bacon Fest, we're expecting you and love, Iowa bacon love.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru, live and on demand across Iowa everywhere from the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy, connected by cellular advantage.
We're glad to have you with us here on Murph and Andy on a Wednesday. Andy, good to see you. It's good to be seen by anybody after I spent about 14 hours sleeping, but it's just good to talk to someone. So, hi.
Were you feeling like you were in solitary confinement or something for a while there?
A little bit. I have a sinus infection. I wish I had gone to see a doctor sooner, so I'm hoping to heal this up. We're on like day 9 or 10 of this nonsense, and I feel like it's irritating other people as much as it is me at this point. So thank you for your patience.
Well, you're welcome. You haven't been a problem. It just sucks to be sick and not be able to just be sick. I think that's one of the worst feelings, right? When you have a job where there isn't somebody to step in for you, or you know that if you're out, then the other person has to totally change their schedule.
Right.
And that's a really hard thing. I'm sorry you're going through it.
Yeah, Sear stepped up for me yesterday. He had a story shoot with Katie Dinnebier. He still went to the shoot anyway and still anchored all the sportscasts. So I appreciate John very much. I was listening to the show Monday, and AD, why didn't you tell me that I sounded like this for 90 minutes? I probably should have wrapped it up.
What do you want me to make you feel bad?
Yeah, if you have to. I mean, you could quality control.
Nah.
Well, what are we going to do? Like make you change your voice or something?
Got to tell you, the new ad at the start of Murph and Andy here from Bacon Fest, the Love Boat.
Yeah,
that's fun. That's good. I see our friend Gilly in there housing some bacon. One of the photos in the shot, but that's a pretty good spoof for those of us who remember the Love Boat or homage to the Love Boat.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I think maybe this is the best theme that we've ever had with Bacon Fest. I'm really happy with this one. Brooks Reynolds did a good job of picking this one out. It's topical. With we will have Yachty by Nature, a yacht rock cover band will be there. Tony Bonenkamp, which he's not only is he a really talented musician, he's like one of the funniest people I know. He's just
nice guy
naturally
too.
Really funny and really nice. He'll be performing. We'll be, we're all decked out. I got this Captain Steubing outfit to wear this year as I MC this. May 3rd at the State Fairgrounds in that ag building over there, which I thought worked really well because there's kind of like that upper mezzanine where people can go up and kind of, spit off the top.
First time I went on a cruise ship, and I haven't been on one maybe 3 times in my life, but the first time I went, it was eye-opening to me because I had watched so much Love Boat as a kid. I thought just a small group of us was going to come on and we were going to have these separate conversations with the bartender and the captain and the doctor of the ship. And we were just, this little group was going to meet with them and be at and then I'm on that first one, and it was a Carnival, which is like the JV of cruise lines. And there's like 1,000 people going on the ship at once. It's a cattle call. People are almost stampeding each other. There's no conversation with the captain on the way onto the ship.
I've only been on one, and it was in the Greek islands, and we were doing that while we were backpacking around Europe, and that's a story for another time. But it was a small cruise ship, so it wasn't like one of the. I mean, some of these ships today are like a city block.
Really is, yeah.
They're gigantic. I can't even imagine what it would be like being on one of those.
City at sea.
Yeah. So, the Bacon Boat is the theme. Tickets are on sale now. Be there, be square. We don't know how many more Bacon Fests there will be. Brooks Reynolds he's not getting any younger. He thinks he is. He's not. We broke
he
the
does
news to
think
him.
he is.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and we hope everybody will join us. Hope you guys will be there. I know you've done it before. You had a good time last year.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. We got a month to go.
Guest House Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines sets the table for today's sports and more. Guest House Tavern, Northwoods, inspired with Midwestern hospitality. Coming up on the show, the Mac Deal Breaker, and that's McCullum. We have another Mac in the state here. Options greater than WNBA, and goodbye to Val. That is all coming up. But let's start with the goodbye to Val Kilmer, who we learned late last night had died at the age of 65.
Yeah, 65.
65, too soon. We learned he had throat cancer. What?
2014 or so.
Okay.
Yeah. A little
over
that.
10 years ago, and went on to make a real revealing and raw documentary that's very much worth watching. It's not full of all sadness and everything, but used his son's voice, which sounds remarkably, and I guess it makes sense, the same as Val Kilmer in his prime, but it's a very good documentary. But we have a quickie poll from WCI Pools and Spas in Ames and Urbandale.
Of these choices, which Val Kilmer role do you love most? Was it him as Bruce Wayne or Batman, Doc Holliday in Tombstone, Iceman in Top Gun, or Jim Morrison in The Doors?
Really only scratched the surface here too. There are many other great roles, maybe not as immediately familiar to most people, but gosh,
He's great in Heat.
He was
so good in it.
Yeah.
Only scratching the surface here, and this is a really tough choice. But I mean, Doc Holliday is my choice. I think it'll probably win this poll because he just kind of made that role his own. You don't know what Doc Holliday's voice sounded like, right? I mean, it's kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis with Abraham Lincoln. I mean, you just said, okay, it's going to sound like this. And it was a real distinctive voice that he went with, and it just added this whole extra layer of texture to the role. Where he's sick as hell during the whole thing. So, but at the same time, he's just like exudes cool and calm. And I think that's the role that made everybody reconsider Val Kilmer and probably defined him from that point on. Even though, and Top Gun was a bigger movie, but Tombstone is just like, it's been like a snowball since it released.
Right.
It's just gotten bigger.
It has. It is one of the most quotable movies of all time. And most of it is things that Val Kilmer said. And the other people in the movie are so good. But that's just his performance is just next level. I mean, you're right. He just somehow made it his own in a way that's so hard to do. That was good. And Iceman we'll get to all this with Mr. Movie later on. We'll get to more of this anyway. But like Iceman is really an indelible, iconic role too, because he's only on the screen like 10 or 11 minutes. But every time he's on, he's so effective as the cocky guy. And then we've talked about this before, Andy. Over time, you come to see, Iceman actually has a point about everything he's saying. Maverick is dangerous. Maverick is putting himself in front of the crew and in front of the concerns of others because he just wants to do it his own way. He's a maverick. Iceman, he softens over time as you start to realize as a parent and as a maturing adult, like, Iceman had a point.
Yeah, which really kind of opens the door for that role that he has in Top Gun 2 Maverick.
Great.
I love
role.
the fact that might be my favorite thing about that whole movie. And I just genuinely like the movie. But the fact that they were able to it didn't seem like they shoehorned him in. It seemed like that role was intended to be in that movie, whether, Val Kilmer was sick, or we did need more.
We needed closure there.
Yeah. You needed the closure with him as the actor, but you just needed more you needed more depth in that movie, and he provided it. And I think had he not been sick, they still would have worked him in there. But the fact that he had lost his voice and he was using AI, I think by that time also, that made it a real challenge. And I thought they wove it in pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, they did, and I didn't stop and watch Maverick last night, but I think when we do watch it again, that scene is going to hit even more.
Yes.
Now that Val Kilmer has died. And for those who haven't seen it, just of these roles we're talking about, first of all, I think he was an underrated Batman, but he kind of walked away from it because he thought it was too cartoonish. There's supposedly somewhere a dark cut of the Batman that he had in mind from that movie, but it hasn't been released that I know of. So he just played it once in Batman Forever, probably a little underrated there. But Jim Morrison, like he got
Way
so
into
into that
that.
role, he wouldn't come out of character. He just was Jim Morrison around the clock.
And you kind of learn from that documentary, Val, that just how hard he had to work to get those roles. I mean, it seemed like he was pretty much, when he wasn't acting, he was campaigning for roles. It was almost like he was a salesman, right? And he was half the time he was working on stuff that may or may not turn out for him in the future, but he was sending reels to directors all the time and saying, hey, I want this role, I want that role. And sometimes he'd get it and sometimes he wouldn't, but it was just kind of interesting to see that behind the curtain peek.
Yeah, he said that his reputation for being difficult to work with sometimes cost him roles, but goodness, it usually was worth it. More on that coming up. Do want to tell you about one of our favorite clients of all time and as low maintenance as it gets, WCI Pools and Spas. They're having their 48th annual customer appreciation sale this week. 20% off all water care products, parts, and accessories. Special pricing on all hot tubs, saunas, swim spas, and pools. And Andy, I know you are a satisfied customer.
Yeah. I am. We've really enjoyed our WCI pools and spa for a while, but yeah, they're kind of at the end of the hot tub season, getting started on the pool season, and this is a good time for them to change over their inventory, and everybody needs this kind of stuff. But yeah, Chad Higgins he's been with us. I think he is our oldest sponsor. I think he's our longest sponsor. He's not old. He's been with us right since the very beginning. Like, I don't even know that he knew what we were doing with the radio show. He was just on board, and we like him a lot. Hopefully the sale goes really well. Would like to get a look, one of those hot tubs from 48 years ago.
What does that look like?
That looks like the Boogie Nights hot tub, right? The one with Jack Horner. Is that his name? Jack Horner was in there.
I picture everything like the tubs we had. We had one tub, I said tubs plural, that we had in our high school in the training facility for all sports.
Was it made of wood?
No, it was just a big metal tub. It's kind of like, you seen Mac Davis and Nick Nolte? What was the name of the movie there where they were football players?
Not North Dallas 40.
Yeah, North Dallas 40.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
They're in tubs like I had in high school, and usually drinking beer at the
just
same
flat
time.
sides.
Yeah.
Probably, if
Soft
you had any
metal.
real injury, you couldn't get out.
Oh, you
had to
needed
be
help to get out.
Yeah, you had to be lifted out with some sort of forklift or something, or crane. But yeah, I don't know. The hot tubs have come a long way. They'll blow your mind when you check those things out over at their showroom. They're up in Ames and over in Urbandale.
Other than sinus infection, let's get a high or low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
Charter Retirement Planning and Tax. Find them online, wealthcharterretirement.com. Tim Hawkins would be happy to reach back out to you. He's never too busy for new business. I don't know how out of it you were yesterday, Murph. I think you were pretty out of it, but it was an active April Fool's Day at the Fales household. God, my kids are way too into this. It's
Dog
like
took a dump on your carpet?
Okay, well, that's where it started. Okay, and I was just like, my kids get way into this, and then Kahala helps.
Yeah, that's for those who can see it, that's a that's a pretty good likeness.
Well, so I saw this
yeah.
on the carpet, and I was like, God damn it, the dog's shit on the carpet again. It's Lewis. And so I go over and I get a wad of toilet paper. I go over to pick it up. I could tell right away it's clay. It's fake. Like, all right, here we go. April Fools. Then I open the refrigerator. They've put saran wrap all across the front of it. Okay, I'm like, all right, that is not that difficult. All right, that's not that big a deal. I mean, they've done way worse things to me. Like last year,
Wow.
I turned on the light in the bathroom and there's a life-size picture of Darnell Brody taped to the shower door.
Man.
Scared the hell out of me. Yeah, he's a huge dude. I was like, ah! It really scared me there, and they love that. What else did they do? There was the one year where, which is the next picture we have, Andrew, when I was getting up in the morning and I had this new car, my new Ramsey Subaru Forester. I go out and I'm like, oh shit. Something fell off the ceiling because I hang a bunch of stuff from the roof or from the ceiling of the garage. Something fell down. It broke my window.
And it's spider web going on the window.
It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm stupid. I can't really tell. And I'm like, oh man. My window's broken. I look at it. I realize there's stickers. That's April Fool's. And then the year before that, they set the clock ahead an hour. I was supposed to leave the house at 2:30, not 3:30. I get down, I look at the clock on the stove. It's like, oh my God, I'm late. So I rush to the back door. I'm in a total hurry, and I see the sign that they've taped to the back door, April 1st, don't get fooled by the time on the clock. Okay, so I come in.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, so this go back to yesterday again. I'm thinking saran wrap on the fridge, fake dog turds on the carpet, not that big a deal. I got off easy. Then I'm in a bit of a hurry. I'm running behind schedule. A lot of stuff going on yesterday morning. So I get ready to take a shower, turn on the light, and this is what I find.
Hassel in a robe.
Hassel, the cutout that we used at the Iowa Everywhere party, dressed in a terry cloth bathrobe and a ton of balloons in there with him. Took me like 5 minutes to clear it all out. 5 minutes that I did not have to spare. Turns out they did get me really good. Oh,
They
man.
did. If you look at Hassel again, AD, it kind of looks like he's got green balls, big balls, like Ali Farouk Manesh size green balls. Colorado State green.
They got, I mean, that completely fooled me. And Kala's like trying to turn it around on me. She's like, well, how did you not notice that? That was, you had gone into the bathroom probably a couple of times, but I mean, the shower light isn't on. You just can't see. There's no reason to look back there. Turn it on, but there it is. So they got me. So last night I got home from work. Eddie was asleep. And Kala said, well, Eddie's really disappointed that you didn't prank him this year. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I took his teddy bear. He's 11. The teddy bear is kind of still a decoration on his bed that he's not ready to part with.
Right.
So I took Teddy and I took some 10-pound monofilament fishing line and I wrapped it around Teddy's ankle and I hung him from the ceiling.
Jeez.
Well, not by his neck, by his foot. Right, by his foot.
Okay, that's
so
better.
I should have said that. By his foot, not by his neck. I didn't hang him. Didn't execute Teddy.
Okay, that's what
But
it sounded
hung
like.
him
It's
by
like,
his foot,
wow.
just over his bed. So Eddie comes down this morning and he's got this sour look on his face.
Mm.
And we're sitting there. We're like, "How'd you sleep last night, Eddie?" And he goes, "Not very well." I said, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "Well, first of all, I woke up and there was Teddy floating over my bed." He goes, and then I went to grab him, and he was tied to the ceiling. So I had to go downstairs and get some scissors and cut down Teddy.
Poor Teddy.
He goes, and then I went back to sleep, and then I had a nightmare that everybody in the house was hovering over my head. So I don't know whether to feel good about my retribution or feel like I maybe went a little bit too far. But, man, they got me yesterday. I feel like he earned that.
I can't remember if Mr. Movie reviewed it or not, but remember when, this is not that long ago, he said there was a movie coming out about a teddy bear that went on a killing spree? Do you remember that one?
No, but I mean, that's from Chucky. There's always some potential horror story. But I mean, Teddy is a really sweet looking bear and he would never hurt anybody, but he was just kind of floating above his bed by about 3 feet. And you couldn't see, you couldn't, it's fishing line. So you couldn't see how he was floating there.
I'm going low as well. And it is also April Fool's Day. And I eventually just got off social media. This is before I
Oh
began my
my
long
God.
slumber.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
just, you don't know what you can believe and what you can't. And then there's people out there that don't kind of get the spirit of April Fool's Day. They say things that might be devastating to somebody, like, oh, my whole family just died. April Fools, that kind of thing. But there was too much of it. There was Tiger Woods is going to play in the Masters right after he tore his Achilles. That was April Fool's. William Shatner was going to Mars with Elon Musk. Somebody put out there that Drake and Iowa State had renewed their home and home series in basketball, which was very exciting news to some people, except
Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't.
too close to the truth. That's not a good joke.
Yeah, it's just one after another. And I was just like, okay, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just time to log out and move on. Interact with others on YouTube comments. Email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. On X, it is Murph_Andy. And it is all powered by our friends at the Cellular Advantage. 35 regional locations with some good discount deals going on now for returning customers. Proud partner with U.S. Cellular since 1993. Let's get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
Proudly serving the Des Moines metro community for more than 115 years. Jada Williams, a former McDonald's All-American and a 2-year starter at Arizona, picks Iowa State. She's coming out of the transfer portal to go to Iowa State to succeed Emily Ryan at the point guard position. Williams led Arizona in points and assists. 2-year starter there, as I said. She made visits to Iowa City and Ames last week, and she picks Iowa State. And there's an interesting wrinkle to Jada Williams. She is a social media star. She has 622,000 followers on Instagram. So I don't know if we've had somebody.
Does. Yeah, I've not followed her. I wonder what she does that.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had anyone that's in that space that can make that much money just from the social media following. But she made the announcement, no surprise, on Instagram. And this is a good get for Bill Fenley and the Cyclones. Emily Ryan leaves after 5 seasons of starting. Need a point guard. And this is somebody that Iowa was looking at too.
Yeah, and I think those looking to defend Audie Crooks's post the other day could point to this and say, hey, maybe this doesn't happen if she doesn't come out there and just lay it down, say, I'm not going anywhere. I will be here. I am a Cyclone through and through. And when you know that, when you have that established, and Addie Brown too, when you have that established, I mean, you can kind of move your focus, right? If you're the Iowa State women's basketball program, you don't have, because you, in this day and age, you do have to feel like you've got to keep recruiting the players that you've got already. Like you can't take your eye off of them. But when you get a post like that, you feel like you can, okay, now we can devote our full attention or more attention to trying to add new players. And we can tell those new players, hey, these 2 players are staying.
I think some Hawkeye fans did think she was bound for Iowa in part because Aaliyah Guyton got into the transfer portal, but she ends up picking Iowa State. Now, what inevitably happens in this kind of thing is you will see the reaction. It works for both ways, Iowa State or Iowa. All these things, fans are fans on both sides. But now you'll probably hear, well, Iowa had kind of soured on her. They had kind of moved away from wanting her. So,
you can spin these transfers in and out,
Sure.
whatever way suits you. I mean, it is funny. I almost think it's like the high school recruits where the first thing, we don't know anything about them. So the first thing that we want to hear is who else wanted them. But at the same time, I think, you clearly, you've got a body of work to reference already. I mean, you can, some of these transfers that we get, that Iowa State has been adding for example, I mean, you can just go right to their stats from last year and you see, oh man, this guy's a big guy. What did he do? Well, he averaged 5 points and 5 rebounds a game. You're like, oh, okay. Well, that's That's not too bad. We need role players too.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, if it was, somebody that you didn't have that, that stat line to look at, you would be just looking at the other schools that maybe were interested in him and be like, oh, here comes the star.
Ben McCullum over at Iowa. I think we're going to see over time several Drake players, of course, go over there. The most important one is already there, Bennett Sturts, but Cale Combs off the bench. He commits to Iowa today, and he won't be the last former Drake player that goes over to Ben McCullum. Here is Ben McCullum on the CW pod from Iowa Everywhere, describing what is a deal breaker recruit for him.
What's a deal breaker for you? Maybe that would probably be easier. Moody. I don't do moody kids. I don't like kids that are come in a bad mood. I don't do it. That's the one thing that I really struggle with is low energy people. You don't have to be like high energy. You don't have to be hype all the time. You don't have to do that. That's fine. Bennett's not like just bouncing off the walls all the time. But if you're super low energy, it just doesn't work with me because it just kind of sucks the life out of the room, and no one wants to be around that.
Interesting. That's interesting that's his deal breaker. And I think no matter what profession you work in, you understand what he's saying. Kind of the negative person, the party pooper, the moody person. I know our friend Chris Hassel already said, I wouldn't be recruited then because I'm moody. Meaning Hassel saying about himself that he's moody. That's an interesting answer, and I think it does speak to what he's looking for in the culture.
I just honestly like the fact that he was
answered the question
with Chris. Yeah, answer the question. Yeah, it was forthcoming, and Ben McCullum is that. I mean, we found him to be very open about that kind of stuff. I mean, he doesn't sit there and talk out of school or anything, and go too far. But no, I mean, he answers. He'll answer the question. And I think he just answers it so quickly. You're just like, oh wow, geez, he knows exactly what he wants and doesn't want out of a player. When you're that age and you're playing Division I basketball or Division II basketball, you're playing college basketball. And look, if you got 4 kids and 2 jobs and you're a little moody, I think I can understand that. when you're that age, and you're already kind of struggling with that kind of stuff, that I guess I can understand that being more of a red flag there. But there may be college coaches out there that are like, actually I kind of like the ones that are real low key, and maybe it's just kind of to each his own. But Ben McCullum is not a guy that do you look at and say, oh man, that guy's all hype. That guy just loves to, run around the sidelines. He's a Mexican jumping bean. I suppose we shouldn't use that reference anymore. But anyway, you're just like, he's not like that. It's interesting. I see him as just real even keeled. I think it's interesting to say that there's, a type of player that he does look for.
Yeah. And I think it was smart to point out too, because if you followed Drake this year, you could see that Bennett Sturts keeps a real even keel most of the time. There were times he got amped up, but he's pointing out, he's not saying you have to be a guy that's rah-rah. He just doesn't want the moody guy that's just always struggling to find happiness. One of the things that got the most attention over the past couple of days or since we did our last show, McCullum wins the Joe B. Hall Award, which goes to a Division I coach making his debut in Division I. And unsurprisingly, McCullum wins that award for what he did at Drake this year. We know the championships, the 31 wins, the second round of the NCAA tournament. But there were a lot of people really upset that Iowa presented the award, as Iowa's head coach, Ben McCullum, has won the Joe B. Hall Award. And then at one point,
yeah, he's already in his Hawkeye outfit. Yeah.
And I understand if you're at Iowa, you're probably saying, well, all of this is true. He is Iowa's head coach and he did win the Joe B. Hall Award. So that's how we're presenting it. I think though, I saw a Hawkeye fan attempted to clap back by showing that Iowa State had done the same thing with, and here's, for those of you watching, you can see it's Joe B. Hall, National Coach of the Year, Ben McCullum, and he's in his Iowa gear, and it's Iowa basketball is the title, and it's all black and gold. There is no reference to Drake or where he actually won the award. So I get Drake fans being irritated by this. And at one point, Hawkeye fans showed that Iowa State had put this out, same thing when Matt Campbell won the MAC Coach of the Year, coaching Toledo. But the difference is Iowa State did present that with Campbell coaching Toledo in Toledo gear on the Toledo sideline. And there is a difference there. I know Matt Van Winkle pointed out that Iowa basketball got community noted on X, where they refute the claim to provide some clarity that something isn't quite what it seems. And the community note was he won this award while he was coaching Drake.
Yes, it is misleading, and it's dishonest. It's not an egregious thing. We those of us who would care know what the actual story is, I think.
Sure.
I just think it's funny that, like, the Hawkeye fans, when they clap back, though, it's not at Drake. They clap back at their major rival, Iowa State. We Drake fans, we saw this. It was kind of silly. You just don't have to do this, right? I mean, you can say, we got him, right, at the top. He's the National Coach of the Year because of what he did last year. You don't put all that on there, but you put, we got him.
I think you can congratulate your new head coach and show him coaching Drake. And yes, I think that solves it all.
I think, that would absolutely solve it. I just think that if you still wanted to somehow keep him in Iowa gear, and he is really wearing that gear. I don't think they photoshopped that part. They didn't.
No, that's the outfit he wore when they introduced him to the public.
It is. So that's not fake, but you need to put something on the top that says something like, we got him, or, this is our new guy,
It's not that big a deal,
No,
but
not.
it has provided some fodder. You saw a graphic quickly. Josh Sash has followed McCullum to Iowa City, Drake assistant. He will be over there. And Andy, this is a really cool story to see Josh go back to Iowa, where his younger brother, Tyler, was such a star, was an All-American, later an NFL player, and of course died way too young. But I'm sure Josh is really excited about this. And I think the Hawkeye community is excited to have a Sash back over there, because anybody who watched Tyler Sash play just loved the way he played football.
Yeah, and we all heard the stories of Kirk Ferentz going to recruit him, and it was, while he was playing basketball, and what a great player Tyler was.
Yeah, he was
at Oskaloosa. Can you say Josh Sash fast?
Josh Sash, nope.
Yeah, see, that's
Turns
tough,
out I
man.
can't.
And like Sears pulled it off last night. He put a little pause between the two, but it was very deft. He did a good job. But for the rest of the newscast last night, I kept saying that to myself. And I was like, Josh Sash, Josh Sash, Josh Sash. Like, the more I thought about it, I could not get it, right? So some people's names are just tongue twisters, and you wonder what the parents were thinking. But if you say Joshua Sash, that's easy.
Yeah.
And that's what his parents are thinking.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. I'm had, like, my neurons aren't quite firing today. My mouth is like a second behind my brain, but I'm going to keep trying here. Katie Dinnebier, cool story. John Sears did this story last night on WHO 13. She had an All-America season. She's back-to-back the Jackie Stiles Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. Seemed like she won MVC Player of the Week every week. It wasn't every week, but it felt that way at times. Averaged 23 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds a game. WNBA scouts reaching out, showing some interest, see if she wanted to be in the draft. And she's not interested. She is going to pharmacy school instead.
And there was not a single person that told me, Katie, do school. Katie, do school. Just do school. No, I seriously think everyone told me, go live your life, have fun, play basketball. But at the end of the day, that's not really what I wanted to do. Basketball has meant the world to me. It's developed a lot of my personality traits. It's made me into the person I am today. And I don't think I'd be here without basketball and be as successful as I have been in pharmacy school without basketball. But on the flip side, pharmacy has always been my dream. I've always wanted to be a doctor. I've always worked to get good grades, and ultimately you come to college, yeah, you're playing basketball, but you're playing to get a degree at the end of the day. And to me, that was just more important.
What a role model. That's really cool. The WNBA, it's hard to stick around in the WNBA, and her dream has always been pharmacy, something I would have never been able to dream or achieve. Good for her. She must be really smart.
I couldn't love this more. First of all, Drake fans and alums have always been proud of the fact that, Drake has a higher academic standard for its athletes, and they haven't ever softened on that, although we've had coaches in the past ask the administration to do that. They haven't had to do that. And, I think we found a good fine line between, valuing academics and also valuing sports, because sports are very valuable to university. And it's done a lot for Drake to have these good programs on the basketball court. But at the end of the day, these are still usually very smart kids that play on these teams. And Katie Dinnebier is, not only is she no exception to that, I mean, she is exceptionally smart. I don't know. Drake is a well-known pharmacy school. I don't know how many other people out there ever went to school with a pharmacy major, but I went to Drake with a number of them, and I cannot imagine what it would be like to try to play basketball while you're maintaining that class load.
She said 55 hours a week of study coming up here in the next semester, of just study.
Right. And she ain't taking the history of rock and roll. I mean, she's taken massive amounts of chemistry and math that are just hardcore. I mean, there's nothing like the worst subjects that anyone could ever pick for me. And I can remember getting started at Drake, and I thought about this last night again and again as John was running the story. I had 4 good friends who were in the pharmacy program. 2 of them could not get out of that program fast enough. They were like, all right, this is way too hard for me. They were smart kids. They're way too hard for me. I mean, they about ran down to the registrar's office and were like, I got to change up my course load here. I'm going to flunk out by the end of the first semester. And then I had 2 that actually stayed with it. And I can just remember the times where they had to just be like, all right, guys, I can't go. I can't do this. I have to study. And they would be down at that. They have their own buildings there at Drake where they would just go and seclude themselves and study like crazy. And then not only did they do that for 4 years, they had to stay for an extra year. It's a 5-year program. So, I mean, you couldn't fall behind.
You need self-discipline.
It seemed like the hardest major in college. And the fact that she has stuck with that, and she's been an exceptional Division I basketball player, one of the best Drake women's players of all time. That's incredible.
Right. Her numbers should hang from the rafters at the Knapp Center.
I was surprised she wasn't higher on the all-time scoring list. John said she's 6th or 7th, and I thought maybe she'd be first.
The past 2 years, she just took it up a notch. She's a conference player.
Well, I mean, it tells you what Wanda Ford and Jan Jensen did when they were there. I mean, incredible.
Dinnebier, not the only one who is not interested in the WNBA right now. More of a lock is Olivia Miles of Notre Dame. She is projected as the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft, which is slotted right now to make about $78,000. Now, that's around the salary that Caitlin Clark made last year. But of course, Caitlin Clark has far more than $1 million in endorsements, millions of dollars. Olivia Miles probably doesn't have the endorsements. Caitlin Clark does not have the endorsements Caitlin Clark has coming to her. So she has put her name in the transfer portal. Instead of going into the WNBA draft, she's going to use her final year of eligibility because the difference in pay, and to be fair to her, she hasn't said, or at least I haven't seen what her actual reasons are, but one of them is undoubtedly the difference between $80,000 a year to play in the WNBA or what a top portal candidate, even in women's basketball, is worth $500,000 to $1 million, because there's always somebody out there who wants to win that badly and will put that bag of money out there. So she's not only going to stay in college, she's going to change teams because, Andy, the way it's allowed to go in this stupefying structure that's out there right now, she can just create a bidding war.
Yeah, you could do that. This is, to me, the significant part of this is that this is in the conversation now. We didn't even have a conversation. I don't remember having a conversation about this with Caitlin Clark. Should she go early? I mean, it was like, nope, she won't make enough money. Done. Right? Like the conversation never got off the ground.
Because Caitlin Clark could have played another year at Iowa.
Yeah, or could have left early. Right? Or no, she couldn't. The rules you couldn't. But we were talking about that.
Right.
Because they do it in the NBA all the time, and so it was barely a conversation, and now it is something that is not. It's not something she's opting for, but at least we're talking about it. And so the WNBA is no doubt thinking about this too, because if there is a really good player who's very promotable that they can see will immediately help their league, then they, as good business people, have to try to make clear a pathway for them to be able to make that choice at least more difficult. Mm-hmm. And preferably slant that choice toward their own interest at the WNBA. This is just kind of a natural order of things. This is the way it was in the NBA. I mean, there were rules that prevented this kind of thing from happening, but they cleared those, they changed those, they made way. And then, it had to be just very clear that it was more financially lucrative for those players to go to the NBA, and that wasn't difficult because it was in a different time with college men's basketball. But, right now you just look at the salary structure in the WNBA, and the comparison is not even close. I mean, they don't. Mm-hmm. What did Caitlin Clark make? $77,000,
right around there, 70s? Yeah, in base salary.
But
she got some bonuses.
But like the endorsement opportunities as a professional athlete, I think are different than they are as a collegiate athlete, even though you can do that now. I mean, they need to kind of lean into that and say, okay, well, this is another reason why you need to consider coming out as soon as you can to our league, because, don't worry about the salary and the bonuses. Also consider the endorsement opportunities that'll be there.
We're seeing this in the NCAA men's game too. There are players who know that using a fifth or sixth season to go make portal money somewhere is going to be significantly more than they would make in the G League. If you're a marginal player, if you're on the line and you're not sure you can cash in, you're not a lottery pick, you probably can make more money in the college game. I mean, we're hearing these crazy figures being thrown around that like Bennett Sturtz could have gotten $2 or $3 million to go somewhere else.
Right. I mean, and that's, look, for fans of college basketball. I guess that's good news. I still think that the top NBA prospects they're probably still going to go to the NBA as soon as they can. If they feel like they're a first round draft pick, they still want to go to the NBA because, you may not get that opportunity next year, but it's no longer a difference of, making money and making no money.
Sweet 16 and elite ratings for the NCAA women's basketball tournament. You probably will see or could see a release from ESPN saying these are among the highest rated of all time. That is true, but it's more than a 50% drop off from last year, 5-0. In the ratings from last year, especially at the regional final level. That Iowa LSU game was a monster number. It was, I don't know what it was, 12 or 13 million people.
Huge. Yeah.
So the rating are coming down. They're going to come down even more in the Final Four. And then in the championship game, you will see these ratings crater, even if Paige Beckers is there, because She has widespread appeal, no doubt, but trying to make it sound like she has the same appeal as Caitlin Clark it's just not true. It's not. She's not the same player. She's very good. She's great. Nikola Jokic last night, just a quick mention here, 61 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. That's the first 60-point triple-double in NBA history. That's crazy. It did take 2 overtimes, should point out. And they lost by 1 point to the T-Wolves. But Andy, this is a guy, he won't win the MVP again this year. He didn't win it last year. Embiid got it. It became one of those things where it just kind of was decided, like, I think we need to give it to somebody else. This guy's, we're sick of him. He's already won it too much. It is hard for some people just to get their minds around that this guy is the best basketball player in the world, because he just doesn't look like what you picture.
Yeah. I mean, and
Serbian horse lover.
Yeah. I mean, you see athletes like this from time to time, and they're just like, "What he is? This is the guy right here." But yeah, that's an incredible number. I think it does take it takes quite a lot away from that. The fact that goes to double overtime.
Yeah,
but I mean, the 61 points is incredible, because he'd still be, at least the 40s or something, which is great. But as far as getting him over the triple double line, I don't know that
it adds 10 minutes.
Flag. It does, yeah.
It does. By the way, Netflix, the Christmas Day NFL games were
triple
such a
header
hit.
Now.
They're going to add one. They're adding one. They're going to go triple header on Christmas now. The NFL will go triple header, and the Chiefs have asked that they become what the Lions are to Thanksgiving. The Chiefs want to be on every Christmas.
I watched those games last year on Christmas Day.
Them too.
I watched them all. As a matter of fact, I think I watched those as closely as I watched any games the whole year. I mean, we had Christmas morning, had the TV on, everybody just hung out. We watched those games, and it was great.
Minimal distractions.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it is funny. I mean, if you were to, fly this back in time by 25 years or somebody, people would be like, "Oh my God, that's just sacrilege. I can't believe you've thought about doing that." And then everybody tries it once. They're like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't so bad.
Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Confluence is where good things come together. And of course, if you watch the show on Fridays, it's a Friday, because Andy always enjoys a confluence during the show. Right now, on a Wednesday, let's get some more.
But wait, there's more. From Either Or Eatery and Patio.
Providing paperweights over at the patio for Either Or right now to make sure stuff doesn't get blown off the table, but still an awfully nice day over there. I imagine there'll be
may need some tethers, like tether yourself to the wall, chair.
It didn't stop anybody last week. They were still out there, just like a huge, 50-mile-an-hour wind gust. People are like, "Oh, that's fine. I'll be fine." Everybody's, hey, you could tell somebody stepped off the Either Or patio because their hair looked like they stuck their finger in a socket. Here we go. Today, Governor Reynolds signed a new law banning cell phones while driving. This has been talked about for years here in Iowa. Iowa joins 30 other states. So you cannot use a cell phone like this anymore.
This was not already a rule or a law. I thought it was.
I had the same thought. I was like, I've been trying not to do this to not get pulled over for a long time.
Yeah, it's you can use the phone. It has to be plugged in or Bluetoothed in. You're still using the phone. You're still looking down at the screen. You are still distracted. But I mean, the big infotainment screens that you have anymore on a car, I mean, you can have maps running there. You can have your text messages playing up there. I mean, people can do all sorts of things with them, or you can stick your phone up on the dashboard and play video still. They're still distracting.
Yep.
But I was finally reached the point where they're like, you can't, a cop can pull you over for seeing that you've got one hand on the wheel and the other one holding your cell phone. Now,
probably need to do some of that to get attention, because this isn't going to stop people just making it a law. But I think we can all agree, even those of us who cheat this law from time to time, even though we know better, it is necessary. We are completely distracted when doing this.
It's shown repeatedly to be more dangerous than drinking and driving, distracted driving, where people just, they're driving 60 miles an hour down the highway, and you see them all the time. You can tell
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Just by somebody's driving style, who is texting and driving, who's on their phone, who's using their phone, has it in their hand. But if you're going 60 miles an hour, you're covering so much ground. If something happens in front of you and you're not paying attention to that time, you just have a really good chance of crashing right into them.
What about at a stoplight? Can you?
No,
can
I don't
you
think you
check
can pull it out
a
at all.
stoplight?
No, I think that was part of the last thing. You can't have it out at all. Police
Okay.
officer sees you with your phone out there like that, they can pull you over. Fairway, which we know well here on Iowa Everywhere. Fairway, a big sponsor. They've expanded to Kansas, which is, stuff spills over the line, and Omaha, the Quad Cities and stuff. You understand it. This is an invasion. Fairway is really looking to take over some ground. Now, there are Hy-Vees all over the place too. So it seems to me like Iowa's biggest exports now might be pork, corn, and grocery stores. There aren't any of my St. Louis grocery stores coming over here.
Once those people in Kansas taste that Fairway meat,
yeah, they're gonna love it. They're gonna see that meat counter and be like, damn, this is where I want to be.
And they've got that mascot that's based on one of Hassel's headshots from CBS Sports, Fairway Frank.
Yeah, Fairway Frank, that big head. It's I think didn't Albertsons out of the Twin Cities, they tried to get a foothold here in the Des Moines market. That didn't work out. We have really good grocery stores here in the state of Iowa. Parker Brothers is making a Monopoly game set in Des Moines.
I saw this on the news last night.
Yeah.
You were anchoring and talking about how your mind was racing, trying to figure out what streets should be included.
Yeah, I mean, they got to start with the streets, right? I mean, just because they immediately, they're like, well, there's the State Fair and Principal Park. You're like, yeah, but that's not how Monopoly goes, right? I mean, not the classic Monopoly. You got to have the streets on there. So Lower Beaver Road's got to be on there at some point, right? Or it's not a real Monopoly game. That's the most stolen street sign in the metro.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have Ingersoll on there.
Yeah, Ingersoll's got to be there. The classic Grand has got to be on there, although every city's probably got one of those. We're taking suggestions. All right, guys, let's never forget that in 1972, John Lennon and Chuck Berry jammed together, and Yoko Ono was there too.
Chuck's face.
How bad
His
does he want to get it?
reaction.
Just throw his guitar down and be like, I'm getting the hell out of here. What is going on? We can use that music because nobody knows what it actually is.
Yeah, there's no way the YouTube AI bots will pick that up as being licensed music because it sounds like somebody who needs to be rescued.
What is John Lennon thinking? Let's move on. Two Illinois men identified as Bruner and Jay Fry have filed a class action lawsuit against OnlyFans, their parent companies, Phoenix Internet LLC and Phoenix International Limited. They alleged that the platform misled users by allowing third-party management agencies to impersonate content creators in subscriber communications, which is a fancy way of saying the person a user thinks he's chatting with is actually not that person. It's somebody else. If you need an example, this would maybe be one. The shattered illusion of getting to talk to a pretty girl has led the plaintiffs to claim the practice violates OnlyFans' terms of service and deceives users seeking authentic interactions. Who, if you really think that that's what you're getting with OnlyFans every time, that you're guaranteed the woman on the left there, you're probably a little naive because it could be the woman on the right. I mean, it could be. You don't know.
I just assume, and I've seen it in enough movies where the person talking with the sexy voice does not match the voice or what you have in mind. It works at these call centers.
Like those hotlines, those phone sex hotlines that people would call in, the 1-900 numbers.
Back in the old days.
Apparently that's still a problem, Murph. That problem has not gone away. And OnlyFans, even though you can see faces, they don't necessarily match up with the voices that go with them. Let's finish with a round of someone on Reddit.
Someone on Reddit.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, someone on Reddit asked, was there a point when you realized the person you were with was actually a dumb shit? And the answer is a resounding yes.
With as in dating?
Users.
Not
dating,
not like
maybe,
a buddy.
Maybe even married to in a few of these cases. But a romantic interest. And here goes. So he says, she argued that she shouldn't have gotten a speeding ticket because she was in the fast lane where there is no speed limit. And she now pays for her own car insurance. He yelled at me and said, you're supposed to mop before you sweep. He came around the house with a burn mark on his neck after trying to iron a crease out of the shirt that he was still wearing. Jesus. And did it again 3 months later. When he asked if you could use dishwashing soap in the dishwasher, she said no, and he did it anyway, leaving a bubble bath on the kitchen floor.
I miss Mr. Bubble.
They thought Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was a documentary. She didn't believe in dolphins because, quote, she'd never seen one in person, unquote. That's somebody that wants hard evidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got to see this dolphin.
Maybe not quite like Bigfoot. He thought the government was spraying pesticides on his garden every night. Those paranoid types. My ex-wife was overpaying the cable bill for years by a lot because it's smart to pay more than you owe on bills if they're loans, not subscriptions. The cable company wound up owing us so much money they had to get clearance from accounting to pay us back. It was over $1,000.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Now, I will say,
for a home loan.
I actually did that with Mid-American Energy for a while because I wasn't sure what our budget billing was at when we moved into the new house. And I didn't want to. One time, the opposite happened where I thought we had budget billing. We bought a new house. And the people that sold it to us were like, this is what the budget billing is. And so I was paying the budget billing. And it turned out we used more electricity than the single couple that we bought the house from.
Sure.
And then Mid-American Energy hit me with this big fat bill that I was not prepared to pay. So I'm like, I'm not letting that happen again. But I let it go on a little too long with the new house, and they ended up writing me a check for a couple $1,000. But it wasn't a big deal. And then finally, he started washing his hands over a strainer filled with cooked food. Like spaghetti noodles or something, and he's just... That's your more, everybody.
Oh, nicely done, Andy. Grimaldi's fan photos, Murph _Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. They come in all week. And then on Friday, we give a $50 gift card to Grimaldi's to either the Prairie Trail or Ankeny locations.
Photo, Andrew?
This is my buddy Danny. He sent this in to us. I wanted to use it for two reasons. Well, one, to show this, but also brag that my Giants are 4-1. Third place in the NL West, but hey, 4-1, good start. And also, hey, solicit some baseball pictures. It's baseball season now.
Yeah.
I love pictures at the ballpark. If you're at Principal Park, if you're at a Little League game, if you have pictures from the past at a game or something, let's get some baseball pictures going.
Yeah, it can even be a local team. It doesn't have to be the Giants.
There are no local teams, Murph. I don't know if you've been in Iowa for a while.
Regional teams. All right, couldn't be a better time than to introduce Giants fan, Mr. Movie.
It's time to go to the movies with Mr. Movie, Mike Woody, presented by P&P Small Engines.
Hello, Mr. Movie.
I'm looking around for my Giants cap.
I'm sure it's there somewhere. I think.
Oh,
Who's that? Who's over your shoulder there sliding in? Is that Willie Mays?
No, I don't know who that is.
Oh, it's
Friend
just
of
a.
mine gave me that. It's
All
like an
right.
original oil painting.
That's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
Shows your love of baseball. Yards greening up quickly. Don't wait too long to get tuned up or splurge on a new machine from P&P Small Engines. Go
Now-
see our friend Jeff out there
My understanding is you guys are going to be out there next week.
next Friday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next Friday, he's got his open house. Jeff has his open house there at P&P. Yeah, we will be out there live doing the show. He always kind of serves some food.
Jeff
Invite some public
thinks
in.
I'm coming out, and I'm like, I'm probably on my way to Iowa City next weekend for a little function, but we'll see. I'll talk to AD if he wants me out.
Mr. Movie, we learned last night that Val Kilmer had died at age 65, and this is a man who left an impression on so many moviegoers in so many different ways. He
Yes,
had
he did.
many different roles that are indelible over time, and he had a reputation for being a little bit difficult to work with, which he acknowledged because he's one of those guys that I don't think comes out of the role when he's playing the part, like Jim Morrison. I guess he stayed Jim Morrison for the entire shoot. What are your thoughts on Val Kilmer, the actor?
I think Val Kilmer had just a wonderful career. I mean, he played so many different roles. I mean, if you look at, I mean, he played Jim Morrison. He played Batman.
Right.
And everything in between. It was just, he worked when he wanted to work, and if he didn't want to work, he didn't. So it's just, he's left some great movies for people to find.
Apparently, it bothered him a lot that he didn't win an Oscar, or I don't know that he even got an Oscar nomination, but that bothered him that he didn't win the awards. But I don't know. I think I would argue that having a career like his with just a number of truly memorable roles in great movies that seem like they'll last forever is better than having one role where you win Best Actor and it's a movie that people see once. I think
if they see it at all.
If at all. Sometimes some of our favorite actors are in that very situation. So I think he had an unforgettable career.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can look at that list of his films and say he didn't have a great career.
And we're picking our favorite role here, and I know everybody already knows mine is going to be Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday in The Great Tombstone.
Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
I didn't even know he was in Tombstone.
He
never heard you
steals the
talk
movie.
about it.
He's so great. The role over time has just gotten, more and more beloved, and it's become so quotable. But this is the movie, I think it's difficult for a Western like this that was a mainstream popular movie and got more popular over time on video. But I was looking to see why wasn't he up for Best Supporting Actor for this movie? Because he certainly should have been, but it's one of the all-time years. Here's the nominees for Best Supporting Actor the year that Val Kilmer should have been up for that role. Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive, he wins. Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List. John Malkovich in The Line of Fire, and Pete Postlethwaite in The Name of the Father. This is one of the all-time great Best Supporting Actor. I would knock Malkovich from In the Line of Fire out of there and put Val Kilmer in for Tombstone, but that's why he wasn't nominated.
Wow.
I guess.
That's a list.
Yeah, it's a list. Andy, who do you have, or which role do you have from Val Kilmer?
Well, you could go any direction, but my first exposure to Val Kilmer was when I was in, I don't know, 6th grade, I think, when I watched this movie, and it made me laugh so hard. It was my favorite movie for probably all the way through junior high school, at least until Bachelor Party came out. But this movie is so damn funny. It's Top Secret. He plays Nick Rivers.
Look how handsome he is.
He's kind of a mashup of Elvis and the Beach Boys. He's an American pop singer who sings about skeet surfing, which apparently was all the rage in California. You'd go out and you'd surf, but had a 12-gauge shotgun out there, and your girlfriend would throw the clay pigeons from the beach and shoot them while they were on the surfboard. And then he goes to East Germany to play this music festival, and it's the Zucker brothers, Jim Abrams and the Zucker brothers, who did Airplane and so many other good movies. And it's just hilarious. And I think it still holds up really well. And there are probably people that are Val Kilmer fans that don't even realize this movie is out there, but it is a hilarious movie, a spoof of old war movies. And he's really funny in it too. He's kind of the straight guy, but he's still great in it. And that's my pick. Top Secret is the name of that movie.
Top Secret. And there's another about that same time where it's kind of when he becomes a heartthrob, but it's Real Genius. That's a really good movie too. From when would that be? The late 80s?
Early 80s. Maybe.
Early 80s.
Yeah, might have been even before that. By the way, Brian, you may be new to the show here. Mr. Movie didn't know that Val Kilmer was in Tombstone. You may go now. He's making a joke because I bring up Val Kilmer in Tombstone at every opportunity. It might be my favorite performance by an actor.
I was going to say,
movies.
I've only watched it once, so I forget who was in there.
Yeah, Murph was sick, and he didn't even need to answer the question. We knew who his choice would be. We just went ahead and entered it for him there. And
other than Tombstone, what is your favorite Val Kilmer movie? So
my birthday present this year was Jenny agreeing to watch Tombstone with me. Because all the years I told her like 6 months ahead of time. I said, for my birthday, would you watch Tombstone? And she said, for your birthday, I would. And we didn't make it through the guys in the red sashes killing everybody at the wedding. And I looked over.
Oh, no.
Just sound asleep. Well, so we'll have to attempt that again.
She works hard.
She does work hard. Mr. Movie, what's your Val Kilmer role?
After Tombstone was off the plate, I looked around and I thought, he really played a very good Batman. I mean, most people forget that he played Batman.
Yeah, he didn't like playing Batman, and he thought they made the movie a little too cartoonish, so he didn't come back again, although I believe he was invited to do it again.
Really?
But
he was an underrated Batman after that, right?
So yeah. I'm going down the list today, and I'm like, oh, bingo. I hit it, and just the bell rang. Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang, which we've talked about a couple of times. If you have not seen this movie, and I think you guys have. I have. But Val Kilmer, Robert Downey Jr., and Michelle Monaghan, who's from Iowa. And it's an action film directed by Shane Black, who was red hot at that time. It's a fun movie. It's really, really well done.
It is a fun movie, and Robert Downey Jr. is really funny in this movie. AD, what did you pick? Heat is still up for grabs.
Yeah, Heat is, but I went with Iceman and Top Gun, of course. He's so good in this. We mentioned this earlier and talked about it at length in our sports movie pod. But as a kid watching this movie, he's a great villain. He's so good looking and handsome, but he's this great villain. And then I watched it again as an adult, and it's like, oh wait, he's right about everything. Maverick really is dangerous. He literally gets people killed. Iceman is a better pilot. And then you learn in Top Gun Maverick, not only is Iceman better as a pilot, he's like a better overall person in every way, shape, and form. He has this great career, this long marriage. He's beloved by everybody. He's an admiral. He's really the only reason Maverick is still in the Navy at that point. So Iceman, and just kind of the full circle that I've come with Iceman in my life as I've grown into it all. Plus, I mean, how handsome can you be in those aviators and that flight suit?
And all-time Hall of Fame frosted tips.
Yeah, and the bite, it's cool. Cool.
It really is. And Mr. Movie, that AD hits on something that's really, it's a good point. This was the most poignant part of Maverick. I mean, I teared up in that scene. It was, and it's going to hit even more now when I watch Maverick, now that he's gone. But that was so well done. Him typing on the screen, but then you hear his voice for one line. Yeah. It was fantastic.
It was a really nice add to that movie.
Let's get to the box office here and get to some movies. A Working Man with Jason Statham leads the box office. Snow White falls all the way down to $14 million in week 2. Then The Chosen, Last Supper Part 1 makes $12 million. So I have 3 movies there that did okay this weekend. Let's start with A Working Man with Jason Statham.
Okay, now I think you guys know, because we've talked about it, I was really looking forward to this movie.
I've seen it too, and it's because I enjoyed The Beekeeper, and I was hoping it was as good as The Beekeeper, but it's not.
But I just love Jason Statham. I mean, he's a smart ass. He can just kick. You know, if there's 15 guys in the room, he can take them all at the same time, and convincingly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went in with high expectations, and about 30 minutes in, I was like, "Ooh, maybe it's time to go home." I didn't. I stayed for the whole thing, but it was a horrible movie.
I liked it more than you did, but I was disappointed. It is one of those movies, and this is maybe a problem you have with Statham. In the first 10 minutes of the movie, when they show the setup, you know exactly how it's going to end, who's going to be the last couple people standing, and there's just never any sense of real danger in the movie, because you know no matter how many bullets are flying or what's going on, he's going to somehow survive. And it just goes way over the top in the final half hour.
I mean, you couldn't even count how many people died, and in grisly, bloody, ugly ways.
Your grade for A Working Man?
It's a D-.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I definitely liked it more than you, but D-. That's like you're mad at the movie.
It's a D-.
D-. Goodness. All right, The Chosen, Last Supper Part 1, which is very different from A Working Man.
Yeah, yes, but it helped cleanse me.
You know how it's going to end.
You do. I've never seen one of these movies. These Chosen movies, you know, they put one out like every other month or maybe every month, and people just flock to these. I get there a half an hour early. There's 4 seats left in the theater. I'm like, holy cow, what is going on here? So
it's a very specific group of people.
It is.
Yeah, these movie houses know their market.
But now I got to go see Part 2 this weekend, because I'm not really sure, you know, where it's going. But maybe
we do. But you like this? What's the grade? What's the grade?
The grade, it's a B+. It's really well done, you know, for that kind of movie.
The studio is on Apple, and I've been looking forward to watching this. I've seen good buzz for Seth Rogen in the studio, and yet another satirical look at the movie industry. What do you think?
Lots of great cameos, but a horrible story, and everybody in the movie is screaming. The entire show is about people screaming because they're mad or they're happy or something. Sue and I just turned it off. It's like, you know, do you want to watch this? And she's like, not really. So
is this supposed to look like the movie poster for The Sting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. AD, you're watching this Counterpoint?
Yeah, I do like it. I see where Mike is going with it. And like the second episode, if you get anxious watching anxiety on screen, that like second episode, but it's in a comedic way, but like it's, you know, just more and more bad happens. He can't get out of his own way. I think the third episode just came out last night or today, so I do plan to keep watching it, and I do like it.
It had parts that were clever, but yeah, I don't need people yelling at each other.
So what your grade is what?
It's a C.
AD, your grade is what to this point?
A B.
All right, a C and a B. The Friend with Bill Murray and Naomi Watts.
I had no idea what this movie was or what it was about. They sent me a screener last night which I had trouble downloading, so I watched it on my phone. Bill Murray, and no secrets here, Bill Murray's character passes away. I think he's passed away before the movie starts, quite frankly. But you see him in flashbacks periodically, and it's just about all of these people that he affected, some in bad ways, some in great ways. It was a charming movie. Very, very well done. Naomi Watts is great.
So it's kind of like the butterfly effect of one man, or just one man's impact on various people. That sounds like
but he would have been
premise.
a bad butterfly because he didn't actually help people a lot.
And the grade for The Friend?
Yeah, it's an A-.
Oh, good.
Really,
all right.
really good.
I love Bill Murray, so I'll check that out. But I think most of our listeners and viewers across YouTube and the other platforms, they have been waiting to hear what you thought of Death of a Unicorn. So let's get to this.
Yeah, I didn't quite make it to Death of a Unicorn this weekend.
What?
Well, what did you think of it?
I didn't see it. I didn't commit to seeing it. You committed to
Jenny,
seeing this.
did Jenny see it? It looks like a movie Jenny would love.
No, it's she doesn't like scary things. That looks kind of scary.
Well, Todd Voss saw it. He said, I enjoyed Death of a Unicorn. Predictable story, but darkly funny.
It's a comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy.
It's a dark comedy. A really dark comedy.
Very dark comedy.
Death of a Unicorn. Wow. I've seen so many things pass by here on Val Kilmer. Andy, I think you'll remember this. Oh gosh, what's the movie where he and Michael Douglas hunt lions? Or
I don't know that one. Somebody mentioned Thunderheart,
Thunderheart's good.
Which is a good movie. Yeah, he doesn't. Val Kilmer never did look like he was half Native American, but it's still a really, really good movie.
Ghost in the Darkness.
Yeah,
it just came to me. Ghost in the Darkness. That was good. Ghost in the Darkness is a good movie.
I mean, Heat is many people's pick for their favorite Val Kilmer role. I feel like in that movie, De Niro and Pacino are just monsters. They're just giants on the screen, and it's so much about them that Kilmer's character, Chris, I can't remember what his last name is. It's kind of Shaherless or something is his last name. He's really good and very intense, and you just kind of see some depth in his character. But I feel like that movie is so dominated by those.
Yeah,
those
he was so overshadowed by those two, as anyone would.
Well,
be.
it was intended to be that way, but it's a great supporting role for him, but it's not my most memorable role.
I mean, it's the problem I have every week working with you guys.
We get it.
We hear that all the time.
Yeah, we know. All right. Thank you, Mr. Movie. Enjoy the movies.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right, Mr. Movie presented by P&P Small Engines. Time for a fast round of Throwdowns.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
Heartland Tire and Auto, treating you like family in Waukee, Knoxville, Boone, and Creston. Also Ankeny, and an authorized dealer of both Bridgestone and Firestone tires. Murph, Deion Sanders has a new contract in Colorado, 5 years, $54 million, putting him as the highest paid coach in the Big 12, sixth highest in the country. Prime has brought a lot of attention and another Heisman Trophy to Colorado, but has a 2-year record of 13-12, hasn't made a conference championship game, a CFP appearance, anything like that. Is Deion worth the money?
He absolutely is. There'd be a lot of people annoyed by this, but not only he took over a program that was awful, so the record is a little bit misleading. He's got Colorado up to winning again, but most importantly, he's made Colorado football relevant. He's put people back in the seats. People are buying gear again, and they're following Colorado across all these social media platforms and pulling in big recruits. He's probably undervalued for what he's actually worth to the University of Colorado.
I think there are probably people that would say Colorado needs to wait and see with Deion a little bit. He's still, the jury's kind of still out on his value as a coach at this point. But I don't think you can do that with him. I think with Deion Sanders, you are all the way in or you are all the way out. And he is just he's not going to operate with any sort of wait and see approach. I mean, he wants to be all the way in or all the way out. So I think this is what Colorado needed to do. And, whether
A
or
lot of
not
money.
this is a good thing is solely up to the Buffalo fans.
All right, Andy, Travis Holm, a viewer or listener, asked an interesting question. Since Ben Jacobson took over UNI, the men's basketball program, the Panthers have made the NCAA tournament 5 times. They've won 4 games, including the run to the Sweet 16 in 2010, and they have had just 1 head coach. In that same time, Drake has had 7 head coaches, about to be 8, has also made the tournament 5 times, just 2 wins, but they have that momentum of making 3 appearances in a row right now. Whose last 19 years would you rather have, Drake or UNI?
You want me to go first here?
Yeah.
This is a really good question. When it came up, I was kind of pissed because I didn't have a good answer for it. But, I mean,
close.
Look, it is close. It's hard to argue with the success that they've had in the men's basketball program at UNI. I mean, they're on a downswing right now, but they've kept Ben Jacobson. They built that new building. The McLeod Center is a great basketball arena. It really is. He's been very consistent there. Again, things are not where they were with UNI, and maybe that says there's some trouble in the future. But,
almost 10 years since they've made the tournament.
Yeah, but I mean they've won games. They had that incredible Sweet 16 run. I'm going to go with Drake just because I feel like he brought it from the absolute gutter, and it's my school. But I would not argue with any UNI fan who felt the opposite.
Interesting question, interesting premise. I think it's UNI because I think picking between the two, you pick stability.
Mm-hmm.
It gets exhausting to constantly have to hire another head coach. It wears everybody out. There is an element of excitement to change, so it's not all bad, but I think you pick the stability, and you have that iconic win over Kansas.
And one of the worst losses in NCAA tournament.
You have that
history
too.
against Texas
Yeah, you have
A&M.
that too. And you have to wear purple.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Murph. Senator Cory Booker broke a record yesterday with a 25-hour filibuster, meaning he was talking for most of that time. He couldn't eat or drink outside of some sips of water. He couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't sit down. What would be the hardest part of doing what Booker did?
Not pissing yourself. He can't go to the bathroom for more than 24 hours. I mean, I'd have to go in my pants. I'd have to wear adult diapers or something. I know he actually trained for this by not having any liquids days before. That's dangerous. You could pass out up there because he is certainly dehydrated as he's doing this, which also screws with your mind when you're really dehydrated. So dehydrating yourself intentionally so that you don't piss yourself, that's the leader for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of like, I understand you get into your own head, and he's got a lot to talk about. He had a lot to talk about. But you get into your own head, you get into a groove, and maybe you can tune everybody else out. But I just feel like eventually you're going to look out there and see that nobody's listening anymore. You're just continuing to go, and you're just like, all right, I think I proved my point, or I'm tired, I'm just going to stop. Where you just... I think the fatigue would combine with the realization that your audience is checked out, and I think it would be hard to push forward from that point.
All right, that's Throwdowns.
All right. Now, if you haven't had enough Andrew Downs, here's some more. It's time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. We call it the AD squared.
That's right. It's powered by Game Day Men's Health. I go to the one in Ankeny in the Prairie Trail neighborhood. You can go to University Avenue in West Des Moines or North Liberty if you're on that side of the state. Also, if you're outside of the state, check out your local Game Day. Let them know you heard about it on Iowa Everywhere. They appreciate that as well. Actor Ken Jeong is a graduate of Duke University, and he was at the Elite Eight game against Alabama. He was mic'd up, and it was fun.
Defense! 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 I won. I'm in a constant state of stress. I know you are. Can we get a doctor? Yeah. I'm like this in front of Coach K. He was just looking at me. What? Because he's like right here, and I'm like, oh! Yes! Yes! Let's go Duke! Let's go Duke! Let's go Duke! my God. Shit. No, lady. I'm not going to high-five that lady.
That's great. Oh, let's
Dude,
get a
he was
quickie
a
poll
huge
result
fan.
presented by WCI Pools and Spas.
Of these choices, which Val Kilmer role do you love most? 50% are going with Doc Holliday. 40% pick the Iceman. From Top Gun, only 7% with love for his portrayal of Jim Morrison, which is really unforgettable. And then Bruce Wayne / Batman gets 3% of the vote.
All right. That's going to do it for us. We thank you for being part of Murph and Andy here on Iowa Everywhere. We'd love you to like and subscribe. Invite other people to the party. Show them how to find us. We're back Friday, and we hope you are too.